We're doing Tzurba M'Rabanam, Hilchos Mezuzah Bays, the second part of Hilchos Mezuzah, page 251.
Says the address is invalid.
Previously, we discussed the basis for the mitzvah of mezuzah, as well as some of the principles concerning which rooms and doorways are subject to the mezuzah. In this year, we will focus on exactly where.
Let's see if he answers.
On where exactly to place, how to place the mezuzah, as well as other aspects such as the bracha. So it says in Masechta Menachos Lamed Beis. Amar Rav Shmuel.
Yep, I'm here.
Can you see us?
No, your video went off.
Can you see us?
No.
What's your telephone number?
Hold on. Hold
What's your
on.
phone number?
Now, can you see us?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Got it, okay.
Okay, hi Chaim. Okay,
Thank you for indulging me.
no problem. We're on 251. We started Masechta Menachos Lamed Beis. Amar Rav Shmuel. Tola b'makel. Let's say somebody had a mezuzah on a stick, a traveling mezuzah, psula. My taima, why? B'sharecha b'ina, it has to be on your gate. Taina machi, tola b'makel, o shonicha achra delis, let's say you put it behind the door, sakana, ve'ein bo mitzvah, it's like sakana to live in that house, there's no mitzvah. Shal beis munvaz hamelech hayu oisim b'putagos kein zeich l'mitzvah. Now, Munvaz hamelech was one of the Chashmonai kings, and his courtiers, when they traveled and they stayed in multiple hotels, they would take a traveling mezuzah with them, not because they were fulfilling the mitzvah with it, just as a zikaron to the mitzvah of mezuzah. Munvaz HaMelech was one of the Chashmonai kings. Yeah. Rashi says, "Tala la mezuzah la pesach b'makol." If you hung, let's say, a movable mezuzah that's on a stick and you hung it on the door. Shenichach re'adelas, he explains, shekava b'kois lach re'adelas, you put it on the wall behind the door. Sakana min hamazikin, if you live in that house, you're in danger from the demons. She'ein habayis mishtamer bei, ad shikve'en b'tzurus ha'pesach kilchasa. The mezuzah is not appropriate until it's been affixed to the doorpost appropriately. And the Shulchan Aruch takes this view. Keitzad kova, how do you fasten the mezuzah? Yimserena b'masmeirim. You should use nails. B'mezuzah sapesach, in the doorpost. Or yachpor b'chafira v'yikbenabo. Or you could, for example, dig into the doorpost, an indent, and put the mezuzah in there. You've seen some mezuzah where it's not bow laid on the outside, but it's indented on the inside.
That means you have to use nails and not screws? Or just any...
You could use a screw.
Metallic holding device?
No, we'll see. You could use glue. We'll get to that. You need something to make it fixed permanently. Scotch tape, not.
Have a double-sided tape.
We'll see. Glue is going to be acceptable if you use real glue that will sit there for a long period of time. Okay? The Gemara in Menachos addresses how the parchment should appear when placed on the doorpost and states that one should roll up the parchment upon which the mezuzah is written prior to placing it there. It means the mezuzah is not put where you could read Shema Yisrael. The mezuzah has two parshas. The first parsha of Shema, the second parsha of Shema. We roll it up and then put it in the mezuzah. That's from the Gemara. Amrav Chelbo, Chazina leil Rav Huna, de karich la me'echad klape Shema. We saw that Rav Huna rolled up his parchment, and from which direction do you roll? You roll from the end to the beginning, right? Hashem Elokechem echad.
You roll it vertically? No, you roll it side
I was
to
just
side.
saying from the end to the
You
beginning.
don't roll it from Shema to the end. You roll from the end to Shema.
Yeah, because then when you close it, it has the Shema on the front.
V'osa parshos says stumos. You also do not make parshos are written either psuchos or stumos. A parsha psucha has space between the parshos. A stuma does not. So in the Megillah, in the mezuzah, the two parshos, even though they're written far apart from each other, v'hafta and vayam shamoa, you write them without any space in between them. Says Rashi, Dikorech le me'echad klape shma, la'achar shenichtava, after you write the mezuzah, koif lo mitzad small mitzad yamin, you fold it from left to right, kishinicha badelis, when you put it in the door. Ma'inu me'echad klape shma, as if Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Echad, you're rolling it from that direction.
The opposite way you write it is the way you roll it.
Klape Shma, Sherosh Ashur Shema Yisrael, V'soifa Hashem Echad, V'schil koifa me'echad, V'kipel uvad Shma. And the Shulchan Aruch quotes the same statement. Korcha misoifa l'rosha, me'echad klape Shma. Nevertheless, Rav Ovadia Yosef writes that if you didn't roll it in this manner, you still performed the mitzvah. Says the Abia Omer, V'tabeitini b'kovetz noyam chelek Hashem. He looked in Kovetz Noyam, the Maimer Mesa Rav Agon of Mordechai Levi Horowitz, Shenishal b'nidun didan. He was asked this question: Uposak she'im eno korcha. If you didn't roll it, umenicha psuchan, you placed it open al mezuzah abayis ba'ofen shaksav megula klapechutz, where you could see the writing. Afshi mechusa b'nylon or b'schuchis, even if you covered it with nylon or glass, lo kayim mitzvah seishel uksavtam al mezuzah b'sechah klal. So this poisek held that if you didn't roll it, you're not mekayim the mitzvah. Mikol makom hadei anoitel achriya kisvor samasig alav. Rav Ovadia Yosef says he holds like the one who argues against Rav Mordechai Levi Horowitz. She'ein akricha mekeves, that rolling it does not. If you didn't roll it, you're still mekayim the mitzvah. V'rak lechatchila yichroch hamezuzah. Meikar adin, you should do it. Misoifel etchilosa kedivrei gemor v'apoiskim. Ava b'diavad yesh lahakel. So that's an important detail to know. The Gemara Bava Metzia says that one should place the mezuzah within some sort of kli when affixing it on the doorpost. Says the Gemara, Efshar hu begovoisu dekanya. You can put the klaf in a reed and then you put it on the door. I mean, you might think that you have to put the klaf itself on the door. No, you could put it in a kli. That would be mishtamer it more. It will preserve it longer. If we didn't put our klafim into a kli, you'd have to change the mezuzahs more often. They would get, especially outdoor mezuzahs, etc., they would get ruined from the environment. So we're allowed to put it in a kli. The Gemara says you could put it in a kli. In fact, the Rambam adds that since the mezuzah must be placed permanently in the doorway, one should nail it in. Rambam says, when you fold it, you roll it from the end to the beginning. When you open it up, you'll be able to read from the beginning to the end. After you roll it, put it in a reed, oshel eitz or wood, oshel kol davar, or you could put it in silver. The Rambam doesn't detail, say, what you. It looks like you can put it in anything. Umechaber also mezuzas haPesach b'masmer with a nail, or chofer b'mezuzas haPesach umachnis ba mezuzah, or you could dig. No, I said you cut into the doorpost, so you have an indent, and the mezuzah is put in the indent. So it doesn't have to be boiled. Achutz, it doesn't have to be sticking out. The Shulchan Aruch writes the same thing. Bala koiva yanechana b'shvafer shel kana o shel kol davar v'yigbena b'makoma keitzad kova yimsrena b'masmerim. You should use nails b'mezuzah pesach or yachbar chafir v'yigbena bo. Now, do you have to use nails in order to fix it on the board? You can use other means such as super glue or strong tape. The Shach cites the Bach, who suggests that one need not use nails if the mezuzah is not intended to remain there permanently. Let's say you're going to leave, you're moving, you're renting, or you're going to move in 6 months. So, if you know that you're only putting the mezuzah temporarily, says the Shach, Ein tzarich likvo b'masmerim. Kain kosav habayis chodesh, who's the Bach. Remember, the Bach is the major commentary on the Tur. There are two commentaries on the page of the Tur. The Beis Yosef, Rav Yosef Karo, and the Bach. Those are the two main commentaries on the Tur. Rav Vosner, who just passed away a few years ago, the Shevet HaLevi, who's a modern posek, rules based on this, that one need not use nails to affix the mezuzah. Pashtus dvarav gam im nosel lefi shah der chiyuv gomer yotze bli kvias masmerim. You fulfill your chiyuv without nails. Im kain hadi kvias masmerim any mitzad etzem chiyuv kvias mezuzah. The nails is not part of the ikr mezuzah. The im lo kain ma ben kovel lizman orach or kovel l'shah. If the shach said that you don't have to use nails because it's going to be temporary, then you see the nails aren't an ikr part of the mitzvah. Nails are practical. If you're going to live there for 30 years, you want your mezuzah to stay up there and not fall, so you're going to use something that's strong. Which is all temporary. So you can use glue as well. Based on this logic, most modern poskim include Rav Yaakov Breish. That's my mother's relative. He lived in Zurich. That's where all the male of my family went through during the war. In the Hilchos Yaakov, and Rav Ovadia Yosef and Yechavidas rule that one may also use glue in affixing the mezuzah. The Hilchos Yaakov in his time was like Rav Moshe. In his time in Europe was like Rav Moshe in America. What do I mean? He dealt with all the modern questions of refrigerators and cars and electricity. So Rav Moshe is the major posek in America that brought us into the modern times, and the Hilchos Yaakov was that posek in Europe, London and Switzerland and Belgium. The Hilchos Yaakov was the Igros Moshe for Europe. So B'davar Shelish Nishalti Kamapami B'Mezuzah Abayis. The Hilchos Yaakov says he was asked a number of times. Mezuzahs that are made out of barzel or even, right, metal or stone. You can't use nails. Can use glue. The kamapamim yeshev shul l'kon adem masmor achrei pesach min tzad shel mezuzah heyadiv. So if you can use nails, it's better. But if you can't use nails, you can use glue. If nails won't work, you can find a bedevek. He says there's no problem with making the bracha, and it's a mitzvah l'chatchila. Says the Yechavidas, the same thing. Yechavidas is Rav Ovadia Yosef. For example, the door is made out of metal, or he was talking about the door was made out of marble, right? So you can't use nails; it won't go in there. So in those cases, you can use shapir dami v'yom l'devek tov hu shebekamek mukomos muchach shadvek al yedei devek nechshavas the gibur gomer. We see that if you use strong glue, it's considered like a complete chibur. V'chein kosav agol Rav Yechiel Mechel Epstein b'sefer Aruch HaShulchan Yoredeya. So the Aruch HaShulchan himself said the same thing. The Mistavra Shem Yigracham Mezuzah b'niyar v'yidbakenu. If you glue it, b'dover mezuzah pesach l'shapir dami. What do we care whether you use a nail or whether you use a glue? Nevertheless, there are opinions. Rav Menashe Klein writes in the Mishnah Lachos that he is not thrilled. Rav Menashe Klein is the one that Los Angeles was soimech the Eruv on. So he was called Menashe HaKotten. I don't think he's alive anymore. Maybe he is. I won't say for sure. But he's contemporary. That he's not thrilled with the idea of using glue, and appears to recommend against doing so if possible. In addition, he notes that the glue must be strong enough that it does not dry up and cause the mezuzah to fall off. I see really from Jews, they use glue. He says it's not a permanent thing, and therefore they're not yotze the mitzvah. Shulchan Aruch. He points out the Shulchan Aruch said you have to use nails. If you're going to say devek gomor, ksheira, the mali devek umali mesamer, maybe you're going to use this svara that with super glue there's no difference. Aval niyar devek, but with paper glue, vaday lo yo'il, sharei einenu ros or I see shadevek mityabesh, that the glue dries up. Mezuzah no fellas and it falls.
Today you don't have those
But on side if it's tzarich lazer al zeh. So like Walter's saying, if you use a very strong glue, I don't think there should be any problem.
You use double-sided tape. It's good also.
I don't know how that
Glue on
operates.
both sides.
What was that?
It's
Double-sided
basically
tape
glue
is
on
the
both
best thing,
sides.
yeah. We use all these double-sided tape.
Does it dry up?
You never put on.
I've been using it for years.
You never put on mezuzahs?
I
I've
did, but
been
not.
using it for
but not with
mezuzahs for
tape.
years.
Double-sided tape. You get the small tape, you cut it. They usually have it on the
They
back
have
of the
squares
mezuzah.
even,
Yeah, yeah,
you
but
pull
on the
off,
back
you
of the
pull off the
mezuzahs, they pull off
paper,
the
you pull the
paper,
paper off
yeah.
both sides,
Stick it on.
finished.
Well, you see, we have plenty of people to rely on to use glue.
Yeah, but double-sided tape, that is not forever.
I've been using it for years, I've never had a problem.
Really?
Is this
Yeah.
for me?
Yeah.
Thank you, Baruch Atah.
Never had a problem. I use the one with the thin foam. You pull both sides off and it stays.
Yeah.
Accordingly, one should not use regular tape when affixing the mezuzah, but rather use nails, strong glue, or the like. Okay. The Sefer known as Shari Torah Sabayis notes that although the mezuzah must be attached in a manner that will ensure it does not fall, one must still make sure it can be taken down relatively easily so that one will not be lax about checking it at the proper times, because we will have more in the shir about how often you should check it. Ulam, heyot shetzrichim livdok et hamezuzah mipam lepam. There is a fact that you have to check the mezuzah periodically. Tzorech likvoa ta b'tzura she'efshar achar kach lahotzi es hamasmerim b'li tircha yisera. You have to do it in a way that you could take the nails out or the screws
But
out.
we use screws then.
V'chein im madbiking ota b'devek. If you use glue, sheyeh efsharut lohorid et hamezuzah kasher tzrichim lebadki. You have to have she'im koivim osoy chazak midai kasher lorida v'yisad se lorida kasher yagiz man abdika. The person will be lazy. He won't check it. So you got to be careful what you use. What about the height and exactly the position of the mezuzah? It has to be indented, or does it have to be straight up and down? It says in Menachos, Amri D'Amar Shmuel, Mitzvah lanicha b'sor chalol shel Pesach. You have to put it in the airspace of the opening itself. More says, what are you telling me? Pshita b'sharecham rachmana. Sal kedai might have thought hoyel v'amarava. Mitzvah lanicha b'tefach hasomach lushus harabim. Because Rava says the ideal place is to, for example, let's say you have a very large door frame. So Rava said, put it in the tefach close to Lushus harabim. So maybe I would have thought kama demerchak ma'ali. Maybe I would take it even out of the airspace. That's maybe go even further. Kamash, well, no, that's got to be within the door frame. And Rashi explains why it should be placed in the outer hand breadth of the doorpost. B'tefach hasomach Lushus harabim, the kodim, because as you walk in, so you're going to be within the side of it the soonest. You want to reach the mitzvah right away. So the fact that it's closest to the Rishus Harabim is where you hit the mitzvah. And the Gemara Menachos discusses the vertical location of the mezuzah on the doorpost, and cites machlokas as to where it may be placed. Amar Rav Zera Rav Masna Amar Shmuel. Mitzvah lanicha betchila shlisha elyon. So let's say divide the doorpost into thirds. He says you have to put it in when the top third starts. Ravun Amar Magbiyah min akarka tefach. As long as you're away from the ground at tefach, umarchik ben akar tefach, and away from the top at tefach, v'chol pesach kulo kosher l'mezuzah. So he says anywhere between a tefach from the top and a tefach from the bottom is kosher. So that's a machlokes between Shmuel and Rav Huna.
You're going to put it on the floor?
Sure.
That's one shita. Meisvei, we ask a kasha. Magbiyah min akarka tefach, umarchik min akar tefach, v'chol pesach kulo kosher l'mezuzah de Rabbi Yehuda. So it was a machlokes tanoim as well, because that's Rabbi Yehuda is a tana. Rabbi Yossi Omer ukshartem uksaftem makshira begoiva. Just like when we tie the tefillin, we tie it up towards the armpit of ksiva begoiva. So you see, it's not anywhere on your arm. Just like the tefillin is on the top of your arm, the mezuzah has to be on the top of the doorpost. Now, Bishlam Rav Huna Huda Rav Yehuda. Now Rav Huna, who said tefach, and otherwise it's kosher, is exactly like the Tana Rav Yehuda. So the Gemara brought up a Raisa showing a machlokas between Rav Yehuda and Rav Yossi. So Rav Huna has somebody exactly to rely on. The question is, L'Shmuel Davar Kaman. But who is Shmuel saying like? Because no one really talked about the Shlisha Elyon. Lok Rav Yehuda v'lok Rav Yossi. Rav Yossi didn't really give us a parameter. He just said it's similar to Tefillin. On Rav Huna Braid Rav Nosson Lodim Rav Yossi. It really is Rav Yossi. Umay Tchilas Shlisha Elyon de Ka'amar La'archika Shlo La'archika B'nakar Shomala Yoser Mishlish. It should not be distanced further from the top by more than a third. So it has to be in the top third. And we'll see where. Do you have anywhere? Should it be placed in a certain spot? The Rishonim ruled in accordance with Shmuel that one should place the mezuzah in the upper third section of the doorpost. But they disagree whether one must ideally place the mezuzah in the beginning of the upper third or anywhere in the upper third. According to the Rambam, one must ideally place it specifically in the beginning of the upper third, while according to the Rosh, you can place it anywhere in the upper third. Let's see it beferish. Says the Rambam in Hilchos Mezuzah, "Ve'echan koivin es ha-mezuzah b'toch halal shel Pesach b'tefach hasomach l'chutz." So it's got to be within the space of the doorpost, close to the Rosh Hashanah, within a tefach. B'tchila shlisha elyon shel goy v'ashar. And the Rambam says specifically, put it in the beginning of the top third. V'im kava l'mala mizek sheira, v'hu yashikenu min hamashkav tefach. He says if you did it above that, it's still kosher, as long as it's away from the top by a tefach. Says the Rosh, Amar Zayim Rav Masar Mishmol, mitzvah necha b'tchila shlisha elyon, perush lo yarchik min hamashkav yosef mishlish goyva shel Pesach. You can't distance it more than a third. Aval yachal l'tita b'goyva shel Pesach adam mashkov. He says he gives you no restrictions anywhere from the top of the third to the top. Who does the Shulchan Aruch rule like? He rules like the Rambam, that lechatchila one should place the mezuzah at the beginning of the upper third of the doorpost, and the placement is only valid b'di'eved if placed higher than that. Yet the Nekudas HaKesef, written by the Shach, writes that he believes the common custom is to place it anywhere within the upper third, even lechatchila. Says the Shach, says the Shulchan Aruch, Ezel Mokum Kviyasa, B'toch Halal Shel Pesach, B'tefach HaSomach L'chutz. Then he says the Shulchan Aruch, V'mshina Eino Ma'akev, if you change that, it's not Ma'akev. U'v'vad she'ani chedet b'mezuzah, as long as it's in the door frame. B'tchila shlisha elyon goy v'ashar, as long as it's in the beginning of the third. V'im kov l'mayla b'zek sheira, as long as v'hu yachikenem mamashkov tech, while it's away from the roof by a tefach. Says in the Nekudas HaKesef there, he's telling us that the Shulchan Aruch, when he gave us the halacha, hu das Rambam. People in our generation followed that. He says, go look at the population. Most of them put it anywhere in the top third. Lanias Daitinira, says the Shach, that they're doing the right thing. The Beis Yosef says the opinion of Rav Manoach, that if a small portion of the mezuzah is placed below the upper third of the doorpost, it's still valid. Meaning, let's say the mezuzah is this big, and you started it below, but some of the mezuzah is touching the beginning of the upper third, he says it's still kosher. He does mention that the Rambam, the Gemara, indicate that such a placement would not be valid. And this is the conclusion of the Shach with regard to practical halacha. He says, V'rav Ramanoch kosav shenir l'shim kov l'mat mishli shelim ksheira. He says, I don't agree with it. So the Shach is machmir there. And the Sefer, the Torah Sabai, summarizes this halacha. Says, you have to put it in the beginning of the first third. If you did it above that, it's also kosher, as long as you're away from the top of tefach. V'chein pasach HaShulchan Aruch, v'chein nohagim HaSfardim. Achein das harosh, shafilu chatchila mutar lasim es hamezuzah mechilas hashisha elyon hatefach samach l'mashkov. He says that the Rosh argues with the Rambam and says you can put it anywhere in the top third as long as you're away from the tefach. And he says, "V'chein noagim Ashkenazim, lo lahakbid al tchila shlisha elyon." When Ashkenazim put up a mezuzah, they're not makpid, like we're not there with measurement. Did you ever go and measure with a ruler and calculate the exact beginning of the third? We've never done that. We place it in the top third. He's showing really what we as Ashkenazim do. We don't follow the Rambam that we place it exactly at the beginning of the third. That's what the Rambam says we should do. But he says the meaning of the Ashkenazim is not like that.
The Ashkov is also sometimes.
Remember, we follow the Shach in Yoredeya. So we have the Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah, and the two major, I'm talking about the Isser Veheter, Kashrus. So you have the Shach and the Taz. Whatever the Shach says, we usually follow in Halacha. And that means he will sometimes argue with the Ramah, and he will sometimes argue with the Shulchan Aruch, and we paskin in the end like the Shach and like the Prima Godim in most dinim of Basar B'Cholov and Taruvis and throughout. So the Shach is very authoritative. So and we see the Shach was Mekel. The Shach said we don't have to do like the Rambam. I'm talking about Ashkenazim follow the Shach. The Sfardim will follow the Rambam, who will place it immediately. So this is we should be aware of difference in halacha between Sfardim and Ashkenazim. We have our minhagim, the Sfardim have, and it's based on these kind of things. The Rambam versus the Rosh. The Rambam was a Sfardi. The Rosh Pashkin for Ashkenazim, even though he ended up living in Toledo. He started off in Worms, but after he was taken prisoner. Maram Rottenberg was taken prisoner.
When is that?
Yeah. He ran to Toledo and died in Toledo, but he was really the posek for the Ashkenazim. The people who follow the Shulchan Aruch, meaning the Sfardim, have to be careful not to drop it below a third. Then they shenik sher bekach. They use a tape measure and they measure exactly. You can't, if you're going to follow that halacha, you can't do it just by glimpsing. He says you should, if anything, if you're going to err high. Because remember, even the Shulchan Aruch said it's kosher above a third. That means, like in golf, sometimes it's better, be longer than, let's say you have a lot of bunkers in front. So we say, better be long than short. So same thing here. Better to be high than not, because being short, you're going to end up being not be kosher at all. Shularova poskim hipsula. You have to put it within the air space of the door frame. You have to put it below the lintel. Put it behind the door, not within the frame. So it has to be done on the doorpost. We're on page 262. What is the halacha when the doorpost is especially tall? Do the same rules apply? So according to the Shach, one must ensure that the mezuzah can be seen by those who enter the doorway. Therefore, he rules that in such a case, meaning when the door is a very tall door, one should not place it any higher than shoulder length. Says the Shach, the kosu od me'aposkim, k'shapezach gavoa harbe, yanichene keneged ktefav, put it opposite your shoulder, avalolo malam ktefav, but no higher. Be'inyan shelo yireota, because if you put it too high, you won't see it. The Yalkut Yosef holds that even in this case, one should place the mezuzah within the upper third of the doorway. It says in Pesach Shar Chotzer Gavoa Me'od Yeshoyim Shemuter Lekover Be'Oflen Shetia Ben Ktefav. He's quoting the Shach. He says no, you should always put it in the first third. V'chein ikar. V'aval pishim yanechem l'malav b'ben kseifa. Lo yichal latet yodo ale b'knisa. So, he says normally we put our hand to the mezuzah and kiss it when we come in and go out. Now, if you got a very high door and you've put it at the Shlisha Elyon and you can't touch it, he says, even though you can't touch it, afal pikein tzarich lanicha b'tchil Shlisha Elyon. He says that's Mikra Din where you have to do it. We don't follow that. We follow the Shach. But he's referring to the Sfardim who follow Shulchan Aruch about placing it right at the beginning of the Shlisha Elyon. Another important detail concerning the correct placement of the mezuzah involves the angle at which it is placed. Do you place the mezuzah vertically, horizontally, or on an angle? The question is subject to a machlokas between Rashi and Tosfos as to how we understand the following piece of Gemara Menachos. Amir Amarav. I saw Kimin Nagar. Nagar is like a deadbolt. You know, a deadbolt, like when you.
A ball.
Kimin Nagar psula.
In other words, the mezuzah would be flat.
More says, like a deadbolt.
Yeah, of course.
More says, Eini, Vaki, Yosef, Rav Yosef, Bar Yosef, Ramakula, mezuzos, the Rav Kamin Nagar, Rav. All the mezuzahs of Rav were made like that. That means they were horizontal. And in the house of Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi, was the same thing. But they said, but the doorway where Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi entered the yeshiva did not have a mezuzah. So lo kasha, hada vida kesichta, hada vida ki istuvuda. It depends. The sichta is a peg where it was lying horizontally, and ksistra is an ankle where it's put vertically. So according to Rashi, the case of sichta vertically that is invalid is where the mezuzah is placed horizontally. And we'll see Tosfos is just the opposite. While the case of istavira that is valid is where it's placed vertically. So Rashi learns pshat that the valid mezuzah is when you place it up and down. Tosfos, on the other hand, interprets just the opposite, pum fakert. So let's see Rashi. Asa kimin nagash, kavav v'tachba b'sav, kinagash shetochel anagrim b'koisel. So that's like horizontal. Psula, the mitzvah is lateta orach b'sav, because the mitzvah is to do it vertically. And then he says, istavira, hainu makom chibur ashuk v'regel u'umadu, the ankle, and that's up and down, and that's ksheira. As opposed to a peg, avida kesichta, nagar kashel umnim, a bolt that people do, a deadbolt which is horizontal, that's possible. So it's very clear from Rashi that he held that a mezuzah done vertically is kosher, and if you did it horizontally, lying it horizontally, it's not. Says Tosfos, Hadavid kesichta, Hadavid kistavira, perish bekuntris. He explains what Rashi says. Kasher Rabbeinu Tam, dimu'umid lav der kovadu. Vertical is not really is not dignified. Because it says one who is buried in a vertical position is called the barrel of a donkey, right? Ukfurs chamor korile b'moicher peiros, the sefer Torah v'luchos sheba'aron mushka v'lo mu'umid. The sefer Torah and the luchos and the aron were lied on their side, not standing. We're going to so. For example, the way we do zars, apparently that's not the way it was in the aron. The luchos were lied flat, not standing up, like the pictures of we see the luchos like that. In the aron, the luchos lied flat.
Same thing with the Ashkenazim read a Sefer Torah that's flat, and
Well, when we-
do it vertically.
No, but he says the way where they were lying in the aron, flat.
No, I'm just-
Okay, yeah. Naval Kain perish Rabbeinu Tam ki sichtas mu'umid ki yisedus hamishkan anoatz as far as psula. He says just the opposite. Vertical, like the pegs of the mishkan, is puzzle, and kistavira notan b'shukla rechava. These bolts, that's the good one, right? Belaz kavilia, that must be in French, is kshera. Now, therefore, now we understand in practical halacha why we ended up making our mezuzahs slanted. Because we want to be makayim, a little bit of both, right? It's not vertical, it's not horizontal, it's in between, right? But let's see the machlokas actually. The Shulchan Aruch says, tzricha lios kufa, orcha lo orach mezuzah pesach, v'chavin shishma, that is sofak li letzad chutz. So the Shulchan Aruch says it should be vertical. Says the Ramah, v'chein noagu, aval yesh oimim shepsula b'skufa, right? He's talking about Tosfos. Elatricha lios shchuva has to be horizontal. Orkel rochav mezuzah pesach. V'medagdekin, you want to be medagdek yoitzi de shneim, to be mekayim both, or moinichan oisor b'shapua v'lachson, slanted. Says the Ramah, v'chein roy linog, And that's the minig. And says the Ramah, who lived in Krakow, "V'chein noagin b'mdina seil." In the European countries, that's what we do. V'chavin she'rosh mezuzah dainu shma l'tzad pnim. V'shita achron l'tzad chutz. So the shma is on the top, so that's why the mezuzah is angled on your way in to the house. The rosh mezuzah dainu shma is l'tzad pnim. So according to Shulchan Aruch, one places mezuzah vertically, which is the Sephardic custom. The Ramah, on the other hand, endorses a compromise of placing it on a slant, which is the custom of Moshe Ashkenazi. Now, what bracha is recited upon placement of the mezuzah? The Torah writes that one should recite the bracha for fulfilling the mitzvah mezuzah. When? Do you do it when you write the mezuzah? No. When you affix it to the doorpost. The Beis Yosef explains that the bracha is recited at this time and not when writing the mezuzah, since it's the Gemar mitzvah. For example, when we build a sukkah, do we make the bracha when we build it? We make the bracha when we sit and use the sukkah. That's the Gemar mitzvah. Same thing. Umasha kosav lo yivach b'shas ksiva, kein kosav Rambam, v'nosan tam lefi shekviyasa hi mitzvah. The mitzvah is, I guess, concluded when you're koiveya it. V'hachi aminim ba'atchelis. The kol mitzvah shein asiyasu Gemar mitzvah so einem avarich le b'shas Gemar mitzvah. When you have some kind of mitzvah that goes through a span of time, the mitzvah is done when you finish the mitzvah.
Think about the mitzvahs, Lulav and Esrog.
No, but that
you bracha as you're rotating the Esrog. That's in the b'shas, in the middle of doing the action.
No. I'll say like this. The reason why you have the etrog upside down is because there's a din that you have to make all brachos oiver lasiyosim. The bracha of a mitzvah has to be done before you perform the mitzvah. The problem is, if you picked up the estrog in the normal way, so now you've been makayim the mitzvah, because the mitzvah is holding the lulav. So we hold the estrog upside down because while we're doing that, we're not makayim the mitzvah. Then right away, we make the bracha upside down, and then when we're ready to shake it, we turn it upside down. We turn it and shake it.
Not when you're rotating the
It's not while you're rotating it. It's because you want to make the bracha oiver lasiyosim. So make the bracha. Now I put the esrog in the normal position. I'm ready to shake it. So that is a mitzvah that is done in a minute. It's like eating matzah. I wouldn't. But like building a sukkah is that you build it and then you sit in it. Similar here, you write it, then you have to be koveya it. For example, writing tefillin. I would say it's the same thing. The mitzvah of tefillin. When do we make the bracha on it? There's no bracha made when you write the tefillin. So tefillin is
Sofer may every time he writes. When does he make the bracha? When he starts writing.
I don't think a sofer
Every
makes a
day.
bracha on
He
a
said,
tefillin.
not in tefillin. That's what I'm saying. It's the same.
but on Sefer Torah.
That's a different, because he has kavanas and everything. But it's the same concept that when the boy first puts on the tefillin, that's when the mitzvah gets made. It's by the kshira. The same thing as the mezuzah. So the Shulchan Aruch rules the same way as the Beis Yosef. V'yivarech, what's the bracha? Asher k'jar mitzvot tzivanu likboa mezuzah, v'lo yivarech b'shas ksivasa. You don't make the bracha when you write it. Now, what if you have Kenai Nahara in our homes? We have to put up many mezuzahs when we put up mezuzahs when we move into a house. So, if one puts up a number of mezuzahs at the same time, the Beis Yosef, who cites the Rashba, you should only recite one bracha upon all of them. Cause of Arashba b'tshuva, mi sheyesh lo shnayim or shlosha psochim aruim l'mezuzah. Remember, I was in Barcelona.
In the old days.
I was in Barcelona. The Rashba, the shul that the Rashba was in, you can go visit. It's in Barcelona, so it has literally 2 rooms. So you notice he says that if you have 2 or 3 mezuzahs to put up, because they didn't have houses like we had, they had a few rooms.
Yeah, I'm not
So you make one bracha. In balikva kulam biyachad, ein mavarch el brachas. So now, let's say you're going to do it on a different day. I mean, if you put many mezuzahs up at one time, you only make one bracha.
After the first one or at the end of all? of them?
No, before. Brachas are always made before you begin doing the mitzvah. And then you'd have to be silent, otherwise you could be
Beginning
mar.
of the 1900s, I'm not sure how many mezuzahs were put on these homes. In other words, even by the Frum house.
They only had outdoors. We talked about that last
Right,
time.
one about it.
Okay, we talked about that last time. And a Hanami. And a Hanami. I remember Los Angeles, it was the same thing. Some of it is financial. It's financial. As people got more affluent, and plus they got more, they understood halacha more. And they understood that there's a chiyuv to put mezuzahs on every room. Like we learned last time. This ruling that we just said is brought by the Ramah as well. Hakover shtayim or shalosh mezuzahs mevorach brachas achas l'kulan. So it's very important because the Rashba was in Spain. So you notice that the author of the Tzurba wants to give us a makor, an Ashkenazi makor, that follows the same din, because it might not necessarily. Just you bring me a Chuvas Rashba, what did the Ramah say? So he brings the Ramah and tells us that Ramah says exactly the same thing. Now, there's a sefer called Choivas Hadar, where it goes. It's a mitzvah it's a contemporary sefer about mezuzahs, and he gives us a lot of other dinim. It says Vivarch Heitev im hamokom chayv mezuzah k'tei shelo yivarch levato. So first of all, you need to make sure before you make your bracha that the place that you're putting up the mezuzah is some place that needs a mezuzah. Remember we discussed last week the various rooms and places that don't need a mezuzah, bathroom, etc. Right? So he says, even if you're in a new house and you put up a mezuzah for the first time, you don't make a shechianu. What if he did not make the bracha at the time he did it? So there's a machlokas whether you can now make a bracha afterwards. Let's say you had put the mezuzah up before you had lived there, and you didn't make the bracha at that time. So you can make the bracha l'kvua mezuzah when he comes into the house. Then he says, right? You shouldn't be mafsik. You make the bracha and you put the mezuzah up. That's like making a hafsik between a tilas yadayim and a motzi, or making a motzi and speaking before you eat the bread. Same thing. Vim hifsik, dino kashar birchos mitzvahs. One who interrupts verbally between the reciting of a bracha and the performance of a mitzvah has invalidated the bracha and must recite it again unless the words spoken pertain to the performance of the mitzvah.
It's like we can make a motzi, bring me the salt.
Well, no, that's tol bruch. You're allowed. That's not considered a hefsek.
Exactly. So
Right.
the same thing would be here. You give me the hammer.
Ein a
I put
chanami.
it in.
Ein a chanami.
We didn't lose kavona.
Right. You don't lose the bracha. What else does he say? Birach al kvias mezuzah. He made a bracha. The rosh mezuzah psula. And he saw that the mezuzah, while he's putting it up, somehow he saw that it's possible v'lokach acheres. Nechlek wa poskim mitzorach l'chazor levarech. So it's a machlokas whether you have to go back and make it. Birach al kvias kama mezuzahs v'ena yochel ligmor. Yochel acher ligmor v'ena tzorach levarech. If someone made a bracha,
How do you keep kavona for so long? Yeah?
no, somebody else can finish up to put the mezuzah up, and there's no bracha needed. Afil loy haibish, even if that guy was not there.
How's that possible?
No, person. Let's say you come and you plan to put up 10 mezuzahs, and you make the bracha and you start putting up, and at the end of 5 you get called away to an emergency. Yachol acher ligmor, that other guy can come and finish the other 5.
There must be a
Afilu lo haya b'shas bracha, even if the guy was not there when you made the
I
bracha.
understand, but if there's no hefsek, so then you're carrying on. But if, let's say, there's a half an hour hefsek or an hour's hefsek, right? The guy left, and then we don't know what to do. And then another guy came along. I would say that he has to make the bracha again because there was a hefsek. I think it's totally in a hefsek here.
Okay, he doesn't.
understand.
It's birach al kama mezuzas lo yafsik beineim ad shigmar kulam. The im hifsik chozer mavarich. So, like Walter said, so if there is a prolonged hafsik, he'd have to make another bracha. Birach al mezuzah achas. He made a bracha on one mezuzah okama. V'niskar sheyesh la'od. Im lo gomar elu shahayu daito le'em b'shas bracha. Ein chozer mavarich. V'im gomar chozer mavarich. If he hadn't finished yet, he can add others. If he finished, then he'd have to make a new bracha. Kova mezuzah b'pasul. Let's say he put it up in an improper way. He put it halfway on the doorpost, or he didn't slant it. So if let's say a Rav comes into your house, and he sees that you put it in the wrong way. He tells you to put another one up. When you put another one up, and you do it kosher, you do make another bracha. Nafla mezuzah. Let's say it fell down. You have to put it up again.
Really?
And niftar habayis. Let's say the room was exempt because you turned it into a diaper room. Remember we said if you use the room for a bizoyandik thing, and now you turn it into an exercise room, right? Choser v'nischayev, ain't a choser mevorech.
Doesn't make sense on the last one. It's like you never had a mezuzah there.
No, let's say there was a mezuzah there. No, we're talking about a case there was a mezuzah there.
You took it off.
No, you didn't take it off.
Seems that way. Why, what do you mean? You took it off.
Because let's say you had it on, and then for some reason that house became
No,
potter.
it was exempt. It was exempt. You never had an obligation.
Yeah, because
on
but then it ain't a choser mevarech. Now it became chayiv again, and now you. So what? You're going to be. So when you're going to put a mezuzah there, well, if you put a mezuzah, it's the first time you ever have a mezuzah. Why would you be ain't a chayiv mevarech? I'm learning pshat that there's a mezuzah there, and then it became potter. You didn't take it off. Let's say you put it up before you moved in. And now you have to check it. You recite a bracha when you return it to the door.
Check your mezuzahs, you have to.
Yes.
When you put them back on.
Now, how about checking it? The Gemara in Yom states that one must check one mezuzahs when? Twice in 7 years, to ensure that they have not become invalid. Says the Gemara, mezuzahs yochid nivdekes pamayim b'shavua, v'shel rabim pamayim b'yovel, twice every 50 years. Says Rashi, nivdekes, shemen nirkava, or nignava. So first of all, it might not even be in there. Somebody stole it.
You come to a house, yeah, there's a mezuzah, but it's empty. The case is there, but there's nothing in
That's
it.
what I'm saying. So Rashi said it 1,000 years ago. Either it became rotten, right? The parchment, or it's not there. Bishul Rabim, Shari Chatzeres Medinus Varas. Remember we said that certain cities, if they have a gate, you have to have a mezuzah there. That's what he meant. That if it belongs to the tzibur, twice every 50 years.
In Yerushalayim, you have mezuzahs that are back inside.
In the gate.
No,
Oh, you're talking about in homes.
No, in Yerushalayim on the
Shar Yafo?
on all the sharim. You see them. They're inside the wall actually.
So that mezuzah has to be checked every 50 years. Pamayim b'yov. Kol davar shehu shel rabim, ein lahatriach alav harbe, she'im titrach yeh kol echad omer yaseh chavei rai. The reason why because when it belongs to the public, everyone is going to say, oh, somebody else will do it, somebody else will do it, somebody else will do it.
That's the bug.
Now, what does the Shulchan Aruch say, based on this Gemara and Rashi? Mezuzahs yochid nimdekes pamayim b'sheva shanim, v'shel rabim pamayim b'yovel. And the Sefer Torah Sabayis notes that if there's a legitimate concern that the mezuzah was damaged or invalidated, you don't wait, you check it. Let's say that, God forbid, there was a fire, or a flood, or some other, you have reason to suspect. He says you have to do it every 3.5 years. But let's say you look at the mezuzah and it looks funny, it looks like it's been damaged. It became wet. You painted it. The painters didn't take your mezuzahs down, and you're worried, or they tried to paint around it. You're worried maybe the paint got in there. You have to check it right away. Even though the 3.5 years haven't gone by. He says you should keep a log and write down the date when you last checked it. So you know your calendar, like you get yourself an alert. Shashanim overes my hair because the years go past. Well, the college shachim it's man b'dikas mezuzah. You forget. Varbe nichshalim b'zeh. He says a lot of people nichshal. The others lirshom zel mezuzah. He gives a good idea. He says you should write it down on the mezuzah itself when the last time it was checked.
Expiration date.
He says you do it on the case, not on the mezuzah itself. The Taras Abayis further notes that if the mezuzah has been checked at least once by a qualified sofer, one may subsequently check it oneself. And if one is uncertain about any issue, refer the question to a sofer. V'yesh anoshim shemezalzulim b'chiyuv zel livdok sa mezuzahs. Beglal shelo motzim sofer livdok lem sa mezuzahs. There are places where they don't have a sofer. Or shekasha lem otzasu sham, or they don't have the money to pay for a sofer. He says, aval zu ta'ud, ki im ha-mezuzah kvar nivdeka b'yisodiyot, lifnei shekavu otam b'pam rishona. Let's say a sofer checked them before they were put up there. Ein tzarich ka'et b'dika kabdanit. You don't need a very careful check. V'dai b'bdika kalala v'arer, lo yizkal kol mashu. You, as a balabayis, can look. Is there writing there? Can you read it? He says you can. He says that you're looking for major damage. There's the tirch of opening up the mezuzah. The letters have not been broken or nizdeku, or cracked. It's not wet, or dry, or some kind of recognizable kilkul. Now, in mistapik, so if you have a question, then you bring it to a sofer, to a talmid chacham. Aval tzursa oisios lechases v'yaserush she'elu dvar matzrichim tzas yeda ein tzarich livdok kol pam. You don't have to check that every time. Not labanas laboidka. When replacing the mezuzah being checked, one should recite a bracha again if a significant amount of time has elapsed. Not labanas laboidka ein tzarich levarich. V'im hifsik arbe tzarich levarich. K'shekaveh mezuzah acheres b'chol oifen tzarich levarich. Now he says, which is different than what we said before, that if you're changing the mezuzah, if you removed it in order to check it, one need not recite a bracha when replacing it on the doorpost, unless there was a long interval in between. Then you should. Certainly, if you're going to put a new mezuzah there, you should recite a bracha. And b'arach hashulchan kasuv she'im machzira achar yom mevarich. What is the period of time? A day. That means if it took more than 24 hours for you to do the check, then when you put it back up, you do make another bracha. He gives another get there, that if you gave it to a sofer to check, you need a bracha. The hefsek beis v'gimel shows have a hefsek. He says even 2 or 3 hours is considered a hefsek. Because by tefillin, for example, let's say the tefillin, took them off, and you put them back on, it's enough of a hefsek, 2 or 3 hours, you have to make a new bracha, or talis. Let's say if somebody wears tefillin for some reason for a long period of time. So, based on this, we have a get there that when you change your mezuzah, you make a bracha when you put it back on. Okay.